All right, Scorpio and Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is going to be for December 14th to the 20th. My name is Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to this type of astrology, do check the description down below. All right, so this week, much easier to work with than it has been the first couple weeks of December, with your ruler Mars squaring up to Pluto and opposing up to Uranus. So that energy lifts up. I think things become much less transformative. We do have Venus going into Libra, which is a much better placement for her. We've got some sextiles this week, so opportunities, and there's some transformations happening at the end of the week, but much easier to work with in general. So this is starting off right at the beginning when we have this optimism. The sun will be squaring up to Jupiter, which is usually that optimistic or at least overarching view of life. And this has been particularly involving your career or your work sector where you've had Jupiter. So there's a lot you guys are learning about career, a lot you're learning about that, overarching view of life with Jupiter at the top of the chart. So a good early part of the week to integrate that, to ground it, to work hard on any opportunities that might arise or have been arising involving the career front. And, especially with Saturn in your first house, it's about, assuming that healthy responsibility, taking that stuff seriously and grounding it so that, it does go into the long term, because Jupiter by itself just feels good sometimes. But in this square, it is a reminder to work hard and to actualize any type of optimism or seeing what's possible in, for you, the career side of things. So also at the beginning of the week, Mercury sextiles up to Neptune, so it could be easy going. Especially for you, maybe with the group stuff. Mercury rules your 11th, and the deeper aspects of life could be easier to work with, the deeper connections and things like that. But could be easy going with the mind for all of us in general. And then as we go into the rest of the week on Thursday and onward, well, around Thursday, we do have Venus sextiling up to Pluto. So here, especially with Pluto being your modern day ruler, it could be that you guys might be feeling good, looking good around that time, or at least there's an opportunity there, maybe something to enjoy in general, specifically relating to the behind the scenes activities. You're going to have Venus going into your 12th house, which is, again, much better placement for Venus to be in. So you could enjoy that spiritual time out. You could enjoy that relaxation, that meditative time, whatever it is for you personally. And you could find all that quite transformative, in fact, with Pluto sextiling up to that. So that later part of the week could be quite good for that, again, easygoing kind of energy or alone time. Now, on Friday, we do have the sun squaring up to the north node. So there is this life path awareness, but constructive awareness with this. The North Node has been transiting your 11th house of groups, of organizations, of your hopes, your wishes, and maybe actualizing those things. So it's finishing up and tying up some loose ends involving that, because the North Node is going to be shifting into your 10th house of career and productive things here in 2016. So, but, leading up to that, I think it's a good way of seeing how you can maybe tie up some loose ends with organizations, groups, those hopes and, wishes and things like that, that you probably are still focused on and will be with your ruler Mars in that 11th house, but how to work on it constructively, especially with a lot of these new beginnings that a lot of you have had. This is all this lunar cycle about Scorpio and Ophiuchus, specifically you Ophiuchuses. And if you are watching this for your sun sign, happy birthday to those of you out there who have your birthdays this week. But, this is all about new beginnings with you, new goals, new drives, new ambitions, things like that. And so actualizing that, bringing that into your life path and working hard on it, I think this later part of the work week, especially with your self-expression, because a lot of you are focused on self and how to bring that into maybe those organizations or whatnot. So that's going to be going into the weekend. And then during the weekend on Saturday, we do have Venus trining up to Chiron. So you guys could be feeling quite healed perhaps and quite good with the relationship stuff, and maybe even that, rest and relaxation. It's really emphasizing that quite good with Venus going into that 12th. But you could feel that quite rejuvenating. In fact, it's a pretty good week for relationships in general. Now, Mercury does go over Pluto, so there is transformation and change happening specifically here with, again, maybe those organizations, maybe your views of groups or networking or with your friends. So be open to change with that. Also be open to seeing the deeper aspects of life with Mercury ruling your 8th house, because going over here on the weekend over Pluto is about change. And the more open we are to change in those areas, the better. We get rid of those old energies. We make way for the new energies. And it's all happening in the area of your values. So I think a lot of your guys' values are changing. I think maybe even on the financial or material level, there's something that needs to be changed or something that needs to be buckled down with or drawn a line in the sand with. Is often the case. But that's already been the case with Pluto. It's just kind of being actualized here again with Mercury in terms of maybe understanding more about it. I think you guys have been thinking more about your values. So it could be a time of action. Do keep everything nice and grounded over the weekend involving those areas. I would say the financial, material, your values, anything involving groups, friends, and also the deeper connections in your life because, it's a sensitive spot and it's going to be squaring up to Uranus. So you want to make sure you're not going to any extremes with those areas as well. But there's maybe something to free yourself up with, some sort of guidance or something, that you might have to do or work with that can free you up here in this part of your chart. So you can have more freedom with maybe finances, maybe with your values and those other areas that I mentioned. All right, Scorpio and Ophiuchus. So I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I want to thank you all very much for all of your support, and I'll see you guys all next time. Take care.